Okay, everybody. Welcome to, what are we at? Day 2, Unit 5. We're going to have 3 sessions of Zazen with Kinhin in between and a Dharma talk during the center one. Before we get started, I just wanted to remind people, it's been a long retreat. We're at the tail end now. If you need to start modifying your position because everything's sore, do it. I've added a back rest because my back is starting to seize up on me. I know some people last night started to recline. We've seen people move to chairs and everything else. So please feel free to modify as you need to, and don't push ourselves to where then we're miserable for days. But otherwise, Zazen. Kinhin? Zazen. So since during this Zazen is also a talk, feel free to sit comfortably and face the screen or partially face the screen as you wish. So this is the last talk for Rohatsu, so we're finishing the final verse of the poem we've been going through. And I'd like to go ahead and just read the whole section, and then we'll kind of go through it line by line. There's some parts that stick out more than others, and I'll probably be jumping back into some other areas of the poem, just because when you get to the end, then the beginning sounds different suddenly. Hopefully I won't run us over into Kinhin, but we'll make sure we get there. So the last lines. Let go of hundreds of years and relax completely. Open your hands and walk, innocent. Thousands of words, myriad interpretations are only to free you from obstructions. If you want to know the undying person in the hut, don't separate from this bag. Oh, sorry, from this skin bag, here and now. Okay, let's keep this up. So the first line in here, I think, is in and of itself a thought. So let go of the 100 years and relax completely. And what does that mean? So for me, let go of the 100 years is letting go of all the past. So letting go of the things that have happened before that we still let define us. An example of this I have in my own life, and I like to give examples in life as to how this applies, is my dog. You might have seen her during the Rohatsu. She's been in here most of the day with me. And her name's Tara. I got her about 4 years ago now. And the second day we had her, she bolted out the door, like many rescues do. And we went chasing after her, thinking, oh my God, she's never going to come back. And I remember this vivid moment of my significant other running down the street as fast as he can, and they're matching paces. And Tara looks over at him and gets this comic book look on her face of, really, you can run that fast too? Hold on. And off she goes, even faster. You couldn't believe it. And my heart sunk thinking, I'm never going to catch this dog. Never. So of course we caught her, luckily, because she thought it was a game. And it was right after that that we said, she needs to go into training because she's a runner. That's probably why she was in the shelter. So this happens 4 years ago. Since then, we've done titles, we've done competitions, and she's learned a ton. She's attached to us. It's no longer the second day she's with us. But I went to an agility class and the teacher walks up to me and says, okay, you have to unclip her leash. I think my breath completely stopped, because in that exact moment, all I saw was her comical face of, I can run faster than you, which had happened years prior. But I was still holding on to that thing that had happened how long ago? And that's the thing I was letting define Tara and me and what we could do. Luckily, I had a really great agility teacher who just whispered into my ear, trust her, have some faith, unclip her leash. And literally with trembling hands like this, unclipped the leash. Nothing horrible happened. She did exactly what I asked of her. Why? Because that's what we'd been working on. But in this way, I had been holding on for years and years, this one finite thing that was defining it. So when we say let go of the hundreds of years, think about throughout the years, all of the finite things that we hold on to that define our relationship with our dog, with our mother, our friend, our coworker, the random person walking down the street where something happened that wasn't even related to them, but now defines that as well. I was listening to, and you can find this in the forum, Koku did a reading of the verse of Faith in Mind by Shin Min. And there was this line that was very poignant and really brought this to light for me, which said, when no discriminating thoughts arise, the old mind ceases to exist. So when we let go of those things that we're clinging to and we're holding on to so hard about, this is the thing that defines my dog, she runs away, then the old mind ceases to exist as well. And I think in that way, then we can move to the second part of this line, which is, and relax completely. No longer when I unclip her leash, it does my hand tremble and my heart go into my throat, because I know I have faith in her. And today is today, and I'm letting go of what's happened in the past. Ironically, over Thanksgiving, she decided to take a joy run through the snow halfway down the block. But next time we go to my dad's, we'll do it again, because it's a new day. So moving on to the second line, this is where I'm going to start jumping around a little bit. Open your hands and walk, innocent. So I want to start with the word innocent. And the term really strikes me for using there, because when we think of innocent, I know for me, instinctually, I think of a very little child is the first thing I think of. For other people, it may be your dog who explores innocently, the horse. I know Bodhidharma Shinshi talked about how he learns so much from him because of how they see the world. It's different. You know, maybe it's a cat. Maybe it's just a person who has a different way of looking at things, but who is innocent. Then I went last night and I pulled a Biocon and I actually Googled the word innocent. And I found something really fascinating. So one of the definitions as a noun is a child or a babe, someone who's naive. A synonym was unworldly. And instantly I went, unworldly. What an interesting term. And how does that relate back to something else that was said earlier? So we're going to back up to a couple of lines that Sekishi walked us through. Places worldly people live, he doesn't live. Realms worldly people love, he doesn't love. So last night I was thinking about this and thinking about innocent as unworldly versus worldly. So perhaps those two lines are more in relation to how we walk through these worlds, how we look at them. And if you're walking through them as innocent versus walking through them as somebody who knows what it is, does that make it a difference? Does that mean that when we talk about places worldly people live, he doesn't live? And it's going back to what Shi Min said, it's that discriminating mind. His mind's not there anymore. It's not constantly thinking when he walks down the street, oh, this is where the street always smells because the person puts their trash on the corner. Instead, it's every time it's a new corner. It doesn't have that association with it of something previously. And I've been using examples of bad, like things that we might consider bad, but it can go the other way too, of you go to a swimming pool and it always brings up that good feeling of when you were a kid. And so when we walk by a swimming pool, we feel a certain way That's different than when we walk by a trash can, because our mind's discriminating. So I found that really interesting. And I'll be honest, I have a hard time with poetry, other than Zen poetry. I took a class in college, I had to, as a capstone, and it was an English theories course where you had to dissect all kinds of poems. And we did this sort of thing where you dug into each word and what it meant and why. And it was like, oh, I couldn't handle it. I made it through, but barely. But when you think about these Zen masters and them writing these poems, they knew at that point, because they'd already seen things live on for so long, that they knew what they were writing down was meant for generations. So I really think that a lot of times they use words in a very specific way, which is why when you read like Red Pine, who's a translator, and he'll spend 2 pages talking about why this suffix is super important. And you're sitting there going, but it's just the. Why is it so important? But there's a reason, because they were very particular in their words. So in this sense, I think if we think about innocence with the idea of walking through, looking at the world like a child, and that being the antonym of being a worldly person who knows lots of things, who's been places and knows what they're like. Now, to the beginning of this, open your hands and walk. So I was thinking about this and open my hands and walk. Well, I'll be honest, most of the time when I walk, I have my hands shoved in my pockets or holding my cell phone. They're not very open. But really opening your hands is just an accepting gesture of being there right now, having your hands ready to reach out and accept whatever's around you and look at it fully. I also think about this like with hiking. And when we're hiking and you're going through brush and bushes and stuff, and you start to bring your hands in like this because you're like, get off of me, nature. You're hurt. Stop poking me. Instead of like a child would walk through, touching everything and then inevitably crying because something poked them. But everything is fascinating. Everything gets touched and brought in. And I mean, they bring you the frog and the slime and the river rock. They're super excited when they find an interesting lizard or a dead lizard and bring it to you. But that's how they walk through the world. It's just with their hands so open, looking at everything as something new and fascinating. Good, bad, other, it doesn't matter. It's all something to be seen and learned from. Yeah, I lost my words. Okay. So the next line is thousands of words, myriad interpretations. All right, raise your hand if you have more than 3 Zen books that talk about the same topic. Raise your hand if you have an entire bookshelf of them. Uh-huh. Okay, so we all know there's thousands of words. And there's a myriad of interpretations because everybody's saying something just a little bit differently. But so I think one of the things that I've learned over time is that if you continue to read the books, they're going to start to sound a lot the same. You listen to the podcasts and they're going to start to sound a lot the same. Go practice. That's nice. It'll pass. Go sit. And I know for a little while, I would get a book and then I would find podcasts that talked about the same thing. And I would So I'd be reading an author and then listening to multiple authors. And if you really listened across them, a lot of times the message came out exactly the same. And so the reason being, obviously, because they're all trying to describe the same exact thing, just using different words to give us a way to understand it. And that's the next line. So it goes, thousands of words, myriad interpretations are only to free you from obstructions. So the books are there to help us clear away the clutter, hopefully unlock something that helps us clear away that so that we can practice and move along the path. So in this way, thinking about myriad interpretations and thousands of words, I thought about it like this, is if you asked, I don't think you can see them. You can just barely see them, but I have flowers behind me on the altar. If I asked each of you, so we've got what, 16 or so of us sitting here right now who I can see. If I asked each of you to describe the flowers behind me, everyone would say something different. And that's how we end up with a myriad of interpretations. It's not that one person's more right than the other. It's just our way of trying to express the flowers. And with Zen, it goes even deeper than that, because beyond just something, an object that we can literally hold and look at and start to scientifically describe and physically describe, and how does it feel, how does it smell, we can walk through all of those. We're trying to describe something that's relatively ineffable. It's something that at some point you have to feel. You have to feel it. It's an essence. And how do you describe an essence? Well, that's why we have a myriad of words. So I think this is a good reminder that at the end of his poem, at the end of this poem he's written, and obviously meant for people to read it years and years from now, he's saying, look, there's lots of interpretations and they're really only here to free you. So kind of let them go. And so even in his own writing of it, he knew eventually we were going to have to let it go. And his words might help us along the way, but they're only there to clear obstructions for us to continue. So then the last two lines. If you want to know the undying person in the hut, don't separate from this skin bag, here and now. So there's two words that I love that he uses. It's undying. Again, he's used a word that's it's something that doesn't happen. Everything dies. Everything passes. Ironically, me and my partner have been together now for, oh goodness, I hope he doesn't watch this, 16 years. So somewhere in there, 17 maybe. See, I'm the horrible one. Years and years ago, though, he gave me flowers that were freeze-dried in this glass heart. And it said on the back, forever flowers. Well, I can tell you now, I can start to see that they're getting brown around the edges. I've kept them on the shelf, not in the sun, and even freeze-dried and in a protective case and no air is getting in and out. They're slowly withering away. Maybe in 40 years, they'll be totally gone. We'll see. They're still on the shelf. So undying is one of those words that we know it's something that we can't necessarily be, but at the same time, we absolutely always are. Everything's here. Everything's now. And in this moment, there's everything. So we're undying. And I think that's where he hits it at the very end with the don't separate from the skin bag here and now. So at the very end of all of this, telling us about the hut and how to look at things and move through life, then he stops and he just says, look, you're here, you're in this skin bag, be here, be now. And that's how you know what's going to continue forever. That's how you know your essence. And that's how you go along this path, is by being here and now. This line sort of strikes me, especially since it's the very end of the poem. I mean, the last 3 words, here and now. It kind of strikes me like the line from the Heart Sutra where we say nirvana is already here, as opposed to it being something far off that we're seeking. We're doing all of this stuff to get to it. It's here now. It's here now in your skin bag. Sorry, skin bag. It doesn't get better than right here and now. And in the next moment, it gets here and now again. So, I had one more thing I wanted to jump back onto. It was in another section, but that's the end of the poem. There's one other thing I wanted to talk about, and it has to do with interpretations and how important it is, the translations that people use. So it always strikes me, and this is probably because I work in construction, when they say in 10 square feet. And I mean, literally think of your body right now. We're all occupying more than 10 square feet right now. That's possibly how small his hut was. Like, in my mind, I don't imagine that they translated it to be smaller, but that's, like, to me, in your skin bag and here and now is everything you need. That 10 square feet is also important because it's how little we really need. This hut was small. And that's all we need. Here and now in this little place is everything. So what I'd like to do is try not to run us over onto Kinhin, because my favorite part of this poem is the 2 lines that go, let go of the 100 years and relax completely. Open your hands and walk innocent. So what I'd like to do is I'm going to read through the poem one more time while we all sit zazen. Washin will close the sutras for us. Just a few moments after that, we will hit Kinhin. I'm going to break all the rules. We're going to go for a little bit longer Kinhin, and I'd really like everybody to walk outside and look with your hands open, without all of those old interpretations, and totally innocent. And if you can't head outside, look in a direction you don't usually look. So like we say in construction for safety, look up, down, and all around. So there's probably some direction you don't look in where you are. Look that way and look at it with complete innocence and as a child would, and see how it hits you. Because after all of this time of sitting, it's probably going to hit you different than it would have 2 days ago. So with that, we'll go ahead and, oh wait, I should say, I will open it up. If there's any questions or comments, Sekishi, you'll have to click on people. My mouse is still not working. So if there are any questions or comments, wave your hands around so Sekishi can see you. I see Kate.
I just wanted to comment on this word skin bag because it feels very poetic and it makes the body seem gross, icky, and yet immaterial time, which really strikes me as an important choice of words. To just think of your body as not as important as you think. So I wish he had used a different word, but I guess that's the point, right? So
Right. And I think you hit it right there, which is I would say, just like you said, the importance of using a term that makes it feel gross and not important is because we cling to the idea of our body breaking down and leaving us and this darn skin bag.
Right.
But
Yeah.
it's just what it is here and now. It is what we have, and we're undying in every moment.
Mhm.
So,
Exactly.
okay. Anyone else? Great. Then we'll go ahead and we will sit for a moment. I'm going to read through the poem once. I'm sorry, I'm not the best reader. And then watching once I'm done, you're welcome to go ahead and just close the sutras. Song of the Grass Roof Hermitage. I've built a grass hut where there's nothing of value. After eating, I relax and enjoy a nap. When it was completed, fresh weeds appeared. Now it's been lived in, covered by weeds. The person in the hut lives here calmly, not stuck to inside, outside, or in between. Places worldly people live, he doesn't live. Realms worldly people love, he doesn't love. Though the hut is small, it includes the entire world. In 10 feet square, an old man illumines forms and their nature. A great vehicle bodhisattva trusts without doubt. The middling or lowly can't help wondering, will this hut perish or not? Perishable or not, the original master is present, not dwelling south or north, east or west. Firmly based on steadiness, it can't be surpassed. A shining window below the green pines, jade palaces or vermilion towers can't compare with it. Just sitting with head covered, all things are at rest. Thus this mountain monk doesn't understand at all. Living here, he no longer works to get free. Who would proudly arrange seats, trying to entice guests? Turn around the light to shine within, then just return. The vast inconceivable source can't be faced or turned away from. Meet the ancestral teachers, be familiar with their instruction, bind grasses to build a hut, and don't give up. Let go of hundreds of years and relax completely. Open your hands and walk, innocent. Thousands of words, myriad interpretations are only to free you from obstructions. If you want to know the undying person in the hut, don't separate from this skin bag, here and now.
May the merits of these teachings penetrate into each thing in all places, so that we and every sentient being together may realize the Buddha's way. All Buddhas throughout space and time, all Bodhisattvas, Mahasattvas, Maha, Prajna, Paramita.
Kinhin, and we'll go for 15 minutes. So we'll come back just after 15 past the hour, or just at 15 past the hour. Zazen. Thank you, everyone. And let's see. So we have a 30-minute break, and then we're back for Unit 6, which is the closing.